Welcome to Excelsior 32, the online news source for the Excelsior Project from the New York Council of Deliberation.
Bob. Our guest speaker tonight hails from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He was made a Master Mason in April of 1997 and a brother in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He's been Worshipful Master in 2004 and 2006 and belongs to the Valley of Fort Wayne. Also, during his current profession, he is the Director of Program Management, Supreme Council, AASR, and MJ. He has held many different offices and many different parts of the craft. But what he's here to speak with us tonight about is the exciting Pathfinder program. So, as an active member of the Supreme Council, I introduce to you illustrious J. Brian McNughton.
Thank you so much, Peter and Excelsior team and brother and all. Thank you guys all so much for the warm welcome and the opportunity to talk tonight about Pathfinder. We've got a lot to cover, and Pete, I'm going to tell you, I feel a little naked without my bow tie next to you, so I'll do my best here.
Thank you, brother.
No, thank you all. And Pathfinder, really excited about this program. We launched Pathfinder from Supreme Council in April of this year. It was kind of an extension of our Journey On Anthem campaign, which I'm sure everybody by now has seen. That actually launched in February. Through our surveys and our discussions with our members, we really wanted to take a deeper dive. What is it that our members really are wanting and needing to further enhance their member experience? And through that discovery, those opportunities to engage with one another and to further their Masonic journey and further lighten Masonry were very high at the list. And so, by extension, Pathfinder is a program being launched under the umbrella of this Journey On, this anthem, and it's something that I think we all can be very, very proud of. I'm sure you've all seen the promotional materials associated with Journey On. They're available on the Scottish Rite NMJ website. But on to Pathfinder. This truly is a program about developing you, the member, each of us as individuals, as men and as Masons, in our journey as men and members of this fraternity, in our Blue Lodges. It's not a new concept about the journey of a lifetime. We were instructed and told a little bit more about the rough ashlar and our journey as individuals towards that perfect ashlar state, and even into the Scottish Rite, through our Lodge Perfection, that we're constantly trying to attain that moral and individual level of perfection as part of our journey of a lifetime in this Masonic fraternity of ours. So that is all deeply interwoven into the Pathfinder program. But what is Pathfinder? And I want to start off by saying what Pathfinder is not. And I say this from the heart, that it is not just another program. Pathfinder was developed with a lot of passion by people very, very, very deeply involved in the fraternity, a lot of experience in the field, working hands-on with other members, and kind of having a feel for what it is, through those experiences of what members were looking for. And so Pathfinder is that opportunity for us, and it's designed, and the structure of Pathfinder is to allow members an opportunity to explore the Scottish Rite. There's so much to offer. We're not just 30, the 4th through the 32nd. There's a lot more to the Scottish Rite, and this helps us explore that. Our new brothers, they get to a certain point that they've witnessed the degrees, and they're at a threshold. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but it helps them answer some of those questions. The biggest part of Pathfinder that I really want to drive home today, it's not just for new members either. It is whether you're a brand new 32nd or have been in the fraternity for 50 years or more. And I could tell stories for for days and days about some of the recent inquiries, and I'll touch on a few of those here later on. But it's a chance for us to practice the fundamentals of Freemasonry, the day-to-day things that we stand for and that we believe in. I've had conversations with some of our members that have been in for a longer amount of time, and they say, what really can Pathfinder do for me? I've done this stuff. And I've been describing it to a lot of individuals that, if you take a look at pro sports, for example, guys in Major League Baseball, the NBA, the superstars, those are the kind of guys that day after day, they get done with a big game and they're right back in the gym practicing and honing their fundamentals, because that part of that development, that self-growth never really truly ends. And so it is for us in Pathfinder that it's a chance, even though we might have done these things before, it's a new opportunity to engage, to meet new members, to help other members, things like that, that it isn't a one and done. That's an ongoing process for us as men and Freemasons. A big opportunity with this program too is for our Valley leaders to really take a close look at the type of experience they are giving to the members. Are they meeting those needs? Are there things that those members are needing and wanting? And it's a chance to help evaluate that a little bit more closely. But one of the biggest challenges, I think, for our new members particularly, is that point when they become a 32nd and they're excited. The Scottish Rite, I think, does a really wonderful job, recruiting members, working with our Blue Lodges, getting them as a candidate, guiding them, mentoring them through the degree process, from the 4th to the 32nd. And, that member witnesses that 32nd degree and becomes a Sublime Prince. And he's standing there at that threshold and really has that big question mark of, I really am not sure what to do next. There's just so much out here. I think a common fallback that we have used, and there's nothing wrong with it, in terms of, hey, why don't you get involved with working backstage and help out with the degrees, or maybe you want to be a part of a cast. And as I've said time and again, some of my best memories in the Scottish Rite were those behind the scenes, being a member of the cast and going through rehearsals and all that. But we have to acknowledge that degrees themselves aren't for everybody. Our members are becoming more diverse. They've got a wider, scope of talents and passions and things that they're really interested in about our fraternity. And us trying to fit that square peg into a round hole isn't always the best option for them. And so they're not even sure really the questions that they should be asking or that even exist. And so Pathfinder at least presents those questions and allows them an opportunity to have an awareness of all the different things that are available to them and how they can bring those their talents and passions to the Scottish Rite and contribute in a way that is meaningful for them. I just realized I didn't share. Did I share my broadcast? I did. So the overall goals of, Bob, did I share my screen?
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Is it visible? I apologize. I realized that mid-stroke.
Yeah, we see you behind a still of The Sound of Music.
There you go.
I am so sorry, gents.
That's okay.
We didn't miss any major visuals here, but okay, sorry about that. So the overall goals of Pathfinder, as we said, we want to continue to work and improve the overall member experience. We want them to enjoy their time in the Scottish Rite. They want to get involved and continue to come back and be a part of this fraternity. We touched on it, but we want to help them answer that question of what next. And in the process of doing all of this, we're going to support the Valley of Excellence initiative. We just finished up a tremendous season, and I believe, I want to say, almost half of our valleys qualified for Valley of Excellence this year. Absolutely tremendous that everybody is stepping up to make sure that they're giving that best experience possible. I do want to point out that srnmj.org/Pathfinder, please make note of that. That is where we're going to find a lot of the Pathfinder resources on the Scottish Rite NMJ website, and we'll have a visual walkthrough of that here in just a little while. So how does Pathfinder work? Well, we want to explore all the different facets of the Scottish Rite, and we're doing that through the completion and performance of various activities. These activities we're calling mile markers, and so all these mile markers are categorized into 5 different waypoints, and the waypoints are organization, self-improvement, valley life, enrichment programs, and service and philanthropy. Now, in organization, there are various mile markers that deal with our organization, our Supreme Council. You know, what is a Supreme Council? What is a council of deliberation? You know, what's an active member? What's an emeritus member? These are all terms that are floating around that to a new member, it's almost like a foreign language to them. And so they've got opportunities to at least explore some of those things about our history and how we're structured. In self-improvement, we try to hand them the keys to unlock the doors to gain access to some of our Scottish Rite resources. You know, one of the primary mile markers in that is, you know, something as simple as establishing your member center account. But really, without that, you know, that is the doorway to accessing a lot of our additional self-improvement resources. Thursday night at the Rite, you know, updating our personal information, all of those resources that are available in the Leadership Resource Center. You've got to have that initial account to gain access to those. Valley Life, just as it might sound, a lot of our day-to-day activities at the Valley, whether it's attending a degree, social event, any of those things that are happening day-to-day, getting involved, those are the mile markers we're going to find in Valley Life. Enrichment programs takes a little deeper dive into some of the more advanced education, such as the Hograd Academy, leadership development, whether that's at Grand Lodge or through the Scottish Rite itself. But it's kind of taking that next step in terms of improving yourself. And then service and philanthropy, and this is a big one. And we talk a lot about our core values. And I've challenged some of our members at times, you know, we talk about them, but how do we exemplify those? You know, service to humanity, for example, that's a big part of the service and philanthropy waypoint, that there's opportunity for community outreach, for brother to brother outreach, helping brothers, reaching out, checking in on them to say, you know, hey, I know that this brother is recently recovering from surgery, or, you know, just doing what we can to help our brothers. It's part of our obligation, but those are some of the types of things that we explore in service and philanthropy. So again, a lot of fundamentals of Freemasonry are here. So on our mile markers, within each of the waypoints, we're going to complete 6 different mile markers. And so through 6 completed in each waypoint, and then at the end, we've got 2 additional called choice, which can be from any of the waypoints, for a total of 32 different mile markers or activities. Bob referenced it earlier. I hope everybody by this point has received a field book similar in size and shape to the passport. We designed these very, very simply. And the reason being that we want Pathfinder to be a living program. We didn't want to print something today and have that be outdated tomorrow. And so they're very, there really isn't a whole lot of, some people have asked the question, you know, why aren't the mile markers in the field book itself? And the reason being, those are going to change. They're going to evolve. And so we wanted to keep this very simple and avoid reprints. So hopefully your Valley secretaries, if you don't have one, you can obtain one through your Valley secretary. You can also request one through Member Center, and we're going to go through some of the steps on that here in just a little bit. But hopefully, again, if you haven't received a kit, please let us know and we'll make sure we get one for you. Quick front and back view of the field book. Now inside the field book, we've got similar to the degree passport, there's a section to put all your personal information, your name, your member number, and so on and so forth. We've also got a QR code and a shortened URL to easily access the guidebook. We did our very best in developing this program to try to be aware that our members have a pretty significant and varied technical capability. And so some members might not be comfortable with QR codes, but we wanted to at least provide a short and easy to manage, URL so that they could type that in, whether on a mobile device or on their desktop computers. On the right-hand side here, we've got a very short, easy to follow table of contents. Now, inside, moving forward into the waypoint areas of the field book, and this has been, I want to take a little bit of time on this because it has generated a few questions here in terms of how do I fill out the field book. There's been a little bit of confusion with that, and we're going to go through the guidebook format here in just a little bit. But my suggestion here visually is a way to go about completing the field book entries. There's a SKU number that you can obtain it directly from the guidebook, a place to put a very brief summary of the mile marker itself. You've got a place to enter any of your field notes that you might be required to do so through the mile marker. And then finally, at the end, you can sign and then date your entry. Some questions have arisen about the signatures. There are several mile markers that encourage you to sit down and converse with other brothers and obtain their signature. That particular signature line is for you to denote that the entry has been complete. So anywhere else in your field notes, they can scratch their name down. And really, it's not a verification that you talked or spoke with one another, but just kind of a memento that you got to sit down and get to know a brother that maybe you hadn't known before. And so from a sentimental standpoint, it's something just to hang on to and be able to keep.
Hey, Brian, I got a question.
Yeah,
Popped
go
up in the
ahead.
chat. Are there plans to have a Pathfinder app to use instead of the field book?
That has been asked a few times. Our IS team is very keenly aware of the request for that, and trust me, I would absolutely love it. I know that they've got a few projects ahead of them, but I continue to revisit as often as I can to try to convince Jeff Kitzmiller to cave on that. So,
Okay.
but no, I think it would be, an app for Pathfinder and pulling in a few of our other programs with, a digital wallet for member cards and all that, I think could be very, very cool.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we have more questions. I'll let you know. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Sure. We referenced 6 mile markers within each of the waypoints. At the very back of the field book is a section called Choice 1 and Choice 2. You know what? I want to back up real quick. That was a point I wanted to make. One of the questions that has come up a few times at the top of each of these pages, it has the title Organization 1. And the confusion has arisen that, hey, I went to my guidebook and I wanted to do, let's say, Organization 17, but there isn't a page for that. And what that number next to organization represents is your first of 6 mile markers that you have to complete for that category. So from your guidebook, you can select any mile marker within organization as your Organization 1 mile marker. So it could be, as we've got here as an example, it's Organization 2. It could be Organization 20. But that just, I wanted to make sure that we had clarified that just because it's popped up here recently. So again, at the end, we've got choice 1 and 2. This basically can be any of the mile markers from any of the waypoints. If there is a particular waypoint that you enjoyed, perhaps it was more of the research in self-improvement or some of the historical context in organization, you can pick from any of those and fill those out, and we'll go through specifically in Member Center how to make those entries. Now the guidebook, a lot of questions come up. How do I get started? how do I, you know, I don't quite understand how Pathfinder works. And my biggest suggestion to everybody is to start with the guidebook. URL at the bottom, srnmj.org/Pathfinder/guidebook. We've got this as a digital only resource. And similar to as I described with the field book, the reason that we're only offering it digital is that it's going to update every quarter. And so if we come across a typo, or if we come across, you know, a way that we need to change a particular mile marker, or if we miss something, if we want to add a new mile marker in, again, if we have 15 different versions of the guidebook floating around, that's just going to cause some additional confusion there. So certainly, if you want to download it digitally to your computer, you can do that. You can access that on a mobile device very easily. But, you know, I certainly don't discourage you from printing a copy off, but just making sure that you're aware of which version you're working with. It's got a lot of great sections. It is the instruction manual. I mean, it covers everything from your basic guidelines with equipment, mobile devices. It provides some procedures even on how to scan QR codes. It gives a complete list and description of all of the waypoints and mile markers, how to update Member Center, as well as some of the most commonly asked questions. It also provides at the back a web and digital resource library. And so we'll show an example of that here. But we do plan to update this every quarter. Our next update is actually going to be on around July 1st. We actually do have some corrections and additions that we need to make on that. Again, very similar to the field book. That's a front and back view of the guidebook. Digging in on the guidebook itself, I know the print is a little small on this, but just be aware that at the top of the inside cover of the guidebook, there is a version number. And so the naming convention for that is the year followed by the quarter. And so the version that we launched with was 2022.2 for the second quarter. And then, of course, you know, in July, we'll release 2022.3. So at any given point, if you have a copy of the guidebook, you'll be able to know if what you've got in your hands is the most current version or not. The guidebook itself as a digital document, we tried to make as interactive as possible. The table of contents, you know, those are all anchor links. So if there's a section that you need to reference, you can click on any of those and that will take you directly to that section in the guidebook. These are some of the types of sections that are in the guidebook. On the top left section, we've got a sample mile marker. We wanted, again, everything to be as user-friendly and interactive as possible. And so if there's a resource that we're referencing in a mile marker, you can see that the term care in organization 2 is in blue. That is an active link. You can click on that and that will redirect you to that particular resource so that you can read through that and be able to complete that mile marker. On the center right, we've got a sample FAQ question, you know, what do I need to do to complete Pathfinder? And again, several active links there that will help you work through that or answer those particular questions. The digital library in the bottom left gives you an idea of the QR codes and the shortened URLs that are available in that, so that even if by chance you do happen to print it, you don't have to stumble through a lengthy mile-long URL to be able to access that resource. On the website itself, on scottishritenmj.org, in the main navigation, we have a drop-down menu for all of our Pathfinder resources. So that's a great place to start if you're wanting to check out the landing page for the program to learn more about that, all the way down through FAQs and downloading some of the digital assets for the program. They're all available in the main navigation.
Hey, Brian, I got another question for you.
Go right ahead.
Any plans to show a quick thumbnail status of my Pathfinder journey on my dashboard on the MMS?
it's been discussed. That is available on the Pathfinder the Pathfinder dashboard. It's not available quite yet on the main dashboard. I'll scratch a note on that and revisit with IS on that.
Okay, excellent.
Great question. Thank you.
No problem.
So clicking on to this is the main Pathfinder program landing page. It's got a sub nav menu, which very closely mirrors what is in the main navigation on the site. A lot of resources are available there. I want to point out as well, I know that we've got a physical, the physical field book, but sometimes, members join, they complete their 30-second. I mean, we've had inquiries from guys that had joined, on a Saturday, and we're getting, member tickets on a Sunday saying, hey, I want to start Pathfinder, but I don't have a field book. Just for everybody's awareness, on the site, you can download a digital field book kit that contains a copy of the field book, as well as the initial launch letter that hopefully everybody should have received, which explains the program at a fairly high level. I also wanted to bring to everybody's attention too that every second Wednesday we are hosting a Pathfinder orientation. It's almost identical to the program we're presenting tonight, but this is for any of our members, any Scottish Rite leaders. Everybody's welcome. If they just need a refresher, or if they've got new questions that they'd like to ask about it, I certainly encourage everybody to stop in. We've really had a wonderful crowd every time, and that's we did 3 initial open houses, and then based on the reaction and the response of, I'd say we averaged maybe, for the open houses, I think we averaged around 250 people, and then for the orientation, I think our first time around had around 100 people that stopped in for that. But certainly encourage you to stop in. The URL there, the srnmj.org/pathfinder/orientation. Will always point, it'll actually redirect to an event card, and it'll always be the upcoming orientation event. So you can directly add that to your calendar from that. And, I encourage you to share that with other brothers if you think that they would benefit from that. That link to that is also in the main navigation. If a user is logged in, it'll show up in that Pathfinder dropdown as well. Just wanted to mention that. It's also on the Pathfinder dashboard in Member Center, so that when a member goes to the dash, it's kind of right there in front of them to say, hey, second Wednesdays at 7, come join us. We've got some new additional resources on the Pathfinder dashboard, and I'm going to come back to those here in just a moment. So again, back to the Scottish Rite website and Pathfinder assets, we've got the main landing page. We've got an FAQ page, which very closely mirrors what we've got in the guidebook, but it's just a very easy way for members that if you're at a Valley meeting, for example, don't have a copy of the guidebook, or just wanted to hop on the site quickly. A lot of the big questions about the program are available on this FAQ page. I've seen a lot of people are already downloading and sharing some of the Pathfinder assets. A lot of excitement going around about it. So would encourage everybody to check out the assets page on the site as well. Member Center, that is the next big piece of this. And this is, I want to spend some time with everyone, make sure we're understanding how to update our field books in Member Center as well. Under Member Center on the main navigation, if you hover over the second item, Member Center, that'll take you to the Pathfinder section that's not as commonly accessed that way. You can find it on the Pathfinder landing page, as well in the sub navigation. Sorry. The biggest, again, we talked earlier about self-improvement, and one of those mile markers to access all of this, we've got to make sure that everybody has their member accounts created. So hopefully everybody has done that already. If not, you can go to the Scottish Rite website under the Member Center, drop down in the main navigation, just click on login, and then click on not just registered, and then you can guide it's a pretty simple process to guide through to create your member account. Once you've logged in to Member Center and you're in your account, you can click on the left-hand side, the left menu. There is an icon for the Pathfinder program. Again, pointing out that every time in Member Center, the current guidebook version will always be listed there. So you'll, again, be able to compare that against whatever version you might have in your possession to make sure you've got whatever is most current. To get started in Pathfinder, and we've got a physical field book, but why are we updating this in Member Center as well? It's a good question, and we'll talk on that here. Briefly, before we touch on that, we spoke on the orientation link available at the top, but we've also got the yellow button resources. We mentioned that. We've got a link back out to the front end of the website that just is to help facilitate traveling from the front end of the website into Member Center and back and forth. The video library really is what I wanted to feature on this as well. Clicking on the video library button, there's a flyout modal that has a list or menu of all of the videos that we've got available currently on Pathfinder. We've got the initial launch video and several tutorials that have already been released. These are shorter segments, somewhere in the 3 to 6 minute range, whether it's getting started, the overview. We've got several of our open house recordings, as well as our orientation recordings as well, so that I know that not everybody can make a second Wednesday event, but they could then, sit at their leisure and go through that video. We've also got links directly to the guidebook download, as well as the digital fieldbook kit downloads. Real quick, I wanted to ask the question about why are we entering this again in Member Center? And we've had that question, do I have to even do it in the field book? I definitely recommend everybody using the guidebook, the field book rather. I mean, it's similar to your degree passport. Do you have to get your passport stamped? Technically, no. But as you go to a valley and get it stamped and get it signed, that becomes a very tangible reminder of your experience. And so I encourage everybody, take the time in Member Center to update your entries. It helps safeguard your information. I will be the first to admit that I have, over my time as a Scottish Rite Mason, I have lost at least probably a dozen passports, and I'm embarrassed to say that, but it happens. With your field book, the biggest thing is safeguarding your information so that, if in the chance you happen to lose a field book, you're able to reference that information again. So on the dashboard once we've clicked on, I jumped ahead of myself again, I apologize. Once we click on begin path, that's how we get started to be able to enter and update mile markers in Member Center. Once we click on begin path, then the waypoint tracker will populate on the left-hand side. We can then go in and see that we've got a heads up display on our progress for the program. So as we update mile markers, we'll see that we've got a 1 or a 2 in each of those particular waypoints. Right below that, we've got the Pathfinder progress bar that will show us across the board how many mile markers we've completed out of 32. So getting started in terms of updating a particular mile marker, we can click on any of the waypoints from those listed. In this example, we're going to click on organization, and we can see that we've got a fairly blank, plain looking dashboard at this point. We haven't selected any mile markers. On the right-hand side, we've got a full list of all of the mile markers for that particular waypoint. And so just by clicking on any of them, that particular mile marker will expand and show us what the what it is that we need to do to accomplish to achieve that. If we see something that we like, all we have to do is click on this yellow add mile marker button, and that will then fly over to the left side and become an active mile marker for us. And so in this particular example, this same mile marker that we had shown visually earlier for the field book, that organization number 2, what is the vision statement of the Scottish Rite? And there's also a supporting blog article to that. But we can go in now and we can mark down a completion date, progress date, and below that, enter in any of our field notes that we have developed through our research on that. And so we've updated a completion date at this point, and afterward entered our field notes. After that, we then click on Save My Progress, and that mile marker is then complete. I want to point out before I bump ahead here that at any point during your path in the Pathfinder program, and that each path represents that block of 32 mile markers, you can update any of your entries. So if you go and meet a member tonight and you type in some field notes, you can very easily go back tomorrow and say, if you forget, oh, I also talked to Rick and Bob, and you wanted to include that in your field notes, you can easily do that and then save your progress again.
Hey, Brian, I got another question for you.
Please.
Brian has mentioned that he will be updating the Pathfinder program to newer versions. If we have yet to complete the version we started, can we continue with the older one to complete it, or must we start fresh and new with the new version when it's released?
We will add to the prior versions, and so it's not going to completely change out. That in this next iteration, 2022.3, for example, organization 2 will remain the same. If you go and check your guidebook, it'll be the same exact mile marker, but there may be, in the first version, we might have 20 mile markers. We might add one and it'll now be 21. Anything that has been updated, we're going to have denoted very clearly in the guidebook. And so, if we've changed it for, it'll just have a note next to the SKU number, updated version 2022.3. We are going to make available a change log for each version update. So you'll very easily be able to see that, okay, so we added organization 21 in this version, and that a couple of mile markers were updated for clarity. But no, it won't completely swap out with each version.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great question again. Okay, so we updated that particular mile marker. I lost my spot. I apologize. We talked about changing and updating. So, okay, we've saved our progress, and we've got an updated dashboard now. We see that we've got one in our 1 out of 6 completed in my organization. If by chance, through your work, maybe you get halfway through a particular mile marker, and you just don't care for it, or maybe there's one that just catches your attention a little differently, you can very easily trash that. Just click on the garbage can in the top right corner. That'll drop off, and you're free to select a different mile marker for that. So again, we've updated the main heads up display in terms of our progress for organization. After that, clicking on program overview takes us back out to the main dashboard. And so as we work through the program, currently we're at 1 out of 32. And as we work through that, and we complete 6 mile markers within each of the waypoints, at the very end, then we have the ability to do those 2 choice mile markers. Now, this couple of questions popped up about how do we complete the choice mile markers in Member Center. If you happen to click directly on choice, you're going to receive a warning message. And basically what this message is telling you is that, hey, choice itself isn't a waypoint. You're going to go back into one of the other waypoints and select an additional mile marker. And so you've completed 6 organization mile markers. You select a 7th, and the system will automatically pull one away from your choice bank. You can go into another mile marker or a waypoint at that point and select your other choice for your 30-second mile marker to complete the program. So I jumped ahead of myself. But yeah, essentially this slide is with that choice that you can go into any of the other waypoints to select those. Once you have updated your 30-second mile marker, there will be this bar here that pops up, and this is a program completion survey, and we really encourage and would ask everybody to take a few minutes to complete this. We are looking for honest feedback with it. I know that there are things that people really like. There are suggestions that we have received about things that they might like to tweak a little bit. We can't get that feedback without your help. And so it's about a 5-minute survey. What did you like? What didn't you like? What could we do better? Would you recommend it to a brother? So on and so forth. So that feedback really does help us and our team. We're currently working on constructing a Pathfinder advisory board with members throughout the jurisdiction to help us with that and to get, compile the feedback that we received from the field. Once you've completed that survey, you'll notice that your Pathfinder dashboard basically resets to ground zero, and you are free at that point if you choose to begin another path. Again, it's very similar to the degree passport that I have heard. I think all of us have heard stories that there are some brothers out in the jurisdiction that have completed their degree passport maybe 15, 16, 17 times almost even. Pathfinder is the same. I can tell you all that we already have a brother. He's actually from Delaware, I believe, that is on his 3rd path. So he has been to it through this 2 full times and is working diligently on completing his 3rd. And we truly did try to create Pathfinder with the thought in mind that each time through would be somewhat of a unique experience, that even if it was the same mile marker, that you could complete that twice, on separate paths. If you're meeting new members, engaging differently, helping out with service and philanthropy, that even though it's the same mile marker, you still could receive a unique experience through that. If by chance through your participation in program, in the Pathfinder program, you run into a snag, something doesn't make sense, or you just have a question, we do have it available in Member Center that on the left-hand menu to create a Pathfinder ticket. Just click on Create Ticket, and from the drop down for the reason, you can select Pathfinder and submit any questions that you might have about the program. I will say that specific questions relating to answers, we'll do our best to help guide you in the right direction without just flat out giving away answers to that. There were some rather humorous submissions that right after the program launched of support tickets for, hey, can you tell me when this particular valley was founded and so forth? And nice try, but check out your proceedings. How about? And so that's we want to have fun with it, and we just don't want to make it too easy for everybody. So after completing Pathfinder, all members will receive a Pathfinder award box. I will say that there is a very nice card of appreciation and a lapel pin. There's also a couple of other surprises in there that I don't want to ruin. Hopefully save the surprise for when you receive it. But after you've completed that, it'll arrive in the mail, and you'll be able to enjoy that and share that on social if you so choose. But the response on that has been very positive, and members have certainly appreciated that. some of the frequently asked questions. In terms of receiving field books, we still are getting a few questions that, hey, I never did receive one of these. Again, if you want to do a support ticket on that, we'll get a replacement kit out to you. If you want to talk to your valley secretary, all valleys in the NMJ now have a supply on hand, and so they'd be able to get one to you. But also that digital download is available if you're really wanting to get started and just don't have one available. Big question that has come up in terms of progress, and to try to keep this fair for everybody. You know, guys that have been in for 20 years, for example, that have done it 15 times, done things along this many times. Official progress for Pathfinder began on April 19th of this year. That was the day that the program launched. And so any progress towards Pathfinder should have taken place after that. And that just gives everybody this, a fair starting spot to go from. Additional resources. We mentioned briefly about the monthly orientation. We've got the tutorial series that we're continuing to work on. We've got a couple of additional tutorials that'll be coming out, updating Member Center, kind of a condensed version of what we just went through, as well as program completion. We just featured an article about Pathfinder in the most recent Northern Light, and we're continuing to promote Pathfinder through social media channels. We've got a really neat summer promotional program for Pathfinder that's going to be launching in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. And then again, we've got support resources through Member Center that we're happy to help out with as well. We touched already on, can Pathfinder be completed more than once? Absolutely. It can be completed as many times as you choose. If you need additional field books, again, we have those available. What's after Pathfinder? That's a big question that's been coming up. There is a leadership development academy that is coming. We're not saying a whole lot about that quite yet, but sometime in 23 that will also be launching. And that's going to be kind of an extension from the Pathfinder program as well. Advice starting off. Biggest thing I can say about Pathfinder is taking your time. I truly mean that. And I know a lot of guys, sometimes you'll have it, no matter what it is, somebody's always going to want to race to try to be the first. Pathfinder is about enjoying the experience. You're not racing to the destination. You're kind of just taking your time and enjoying the journey and making the most of that. Very much talk to your brothers. You know, if there's something that you're stuck on, talk to a brother. Maybe collaboratively, the two of you can work together and figure it out. But that is kind of at the heart and soul of Pathfinder, working together and enjoying that journey. If you're not unsure how to complete a mile marker, we touched on it a little bit, but I've got a supporting slide on that coming. But really, talk to a brother, check your guidebook, and submit a support ticket as a last resort. That if you just can't figure it out, submit a ticket, and we'll make sure one way or another we'll get you headed in the right direction on that. We talked briefly on member feedback and how important that is for us. So again, certainly we'd love, anytime you've got questions or comments about Pathfinder, feel free to send them our way. Always happy to answer questions on that. We talked on support. Again, first and foremost, check your guidebook, talk to a brother, and submit that ticket if all else fails. But a couple of, I mentioned it earlier, and this is kind of a good wrap point, but a couple of stats that I wanted to share. Right now, we're about 30 brothers have completed Pathfinder, and we've got about 700 that are at some stage of the program. Some brothers have fully completed Member Center entries, and so we're able to kind of more closely track that. A lot of members actually have done it completely manually, and that is possible. You can, work directly in your field book, and your secretary can manually approve your program progress, excuse me. But what has been really interesting has been the messages that we've received from some of our brothers out in the jurisdiction. Some guys are of the mindset, this is for the new guys. I will very honestly tell you that just in the past like 7 to 10 days, we had several guys reach out. One brother was, I believe, was just about to turn 86. He was an MSA, and he said, you know what? I have learned actually things about the Scottish Rite that even I didn't know existed. He said, I just completed Pathfinder for the first time, and I can't wait to start again. I also had a call from a brother that was 92, and same kind of a thing. He said, I am floored by what I'm seeing with this. I'm absolutely interested, but I don't understand computers very well. And so he just needed a little bit of guidance to get his hands on a guidebook to get going. But if guys are in their 80s and 90s and saying, you know what, this looks exciting and something I want to do, as I've shared with others, it truly is a powerful reminder that the journey doesn't end. It's not just becoming a 30-second and working through a few things and just boom, you're finished. It's an ongoing process for us. So just I'm always tickled by those types of comments and feedback. As I get close to wrapping up here, I'm not going to read through all of this, but I wanted to share some of the philosophical heart and soul of Pathfinder with you. We talked at the beginning about the journey of a lifetime. There was a poem by Will Allen Dromgoole, and I'm sure everybody has probably heard of it, called The Bridge Builder. But The Bridge Builder very much played into the overall feeling of the program. It's about a weary traveler, and symbolically he's making his way through life, and he's getting older up in his years, and he comes to an obstacle in life. It was a stream, and he makes his way past the stream through that obstacle in life, and decides after he has safely traversed that he is going to stop and build a bridge over that stream. And he's met by another traveler, and he kind of gives him a hard time about it. Says, hey, you made it safely over the stream, and why waste your time building the bridge? And the traveler basically tells him, he's like, look, I made it safe, you're right, and it wasn't that big of a deal for me, but someday somebody else is going to follow in my footsteps, and it might not be as easy of a time for them. And so I'm going to take the time now and help them ensure their safe passage at some point in the future. And so we talk about building that bridge for others. I mean, it's our individual journey, but again, it's our journey with, our friends, those guys that we've gotten to know in the fraternity, but it's also those guys that are coming after us someday, that by us improving ourselves as Scottish Rite Masons and understanding more of about our organization, it gives us the tools and ability to help, create those bridges for those members that are going to follow us after us someday. So that is, I get very fired up about that particular poem and what it means for Pathfinder, but that is kind of a little bit more of an overview of Pathfinder. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share all of this with you tonight, and I certainly open it up for any questions you might have. And to the Excelsior team, thank you guys so much for the chance to be here tonight.
So I've already got a question for you. All right. Do you get an awards box with each completion if you do the program more than once? Only one box?
First time only.
First time only. Okay. Second question, if we were to get a better box, would there be better stuff in it?
Good question. I will say, without saying, that when we began the degree passport program, the jewel, the gold passport and the certificate and the jewel, we didn't have those available right out of the gate. It's on the radar for us. We just need to explore what it is that we want to do with that. It's probably not going to be available right away, but at some point down the road, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, good. All right. Hey, why don't we do this? Brian, why don't you stop your video and let's get
Sure.
everybody on video. So if you guys want to turn your video on, this would be a great time to do that. Get everybody back here with their smiling faces. So first of all, we had some good questions throughout the program, but you guys must have some questions.
Actually, Bob, there's another one that just came in from Chris.
Oh yeah.
Says for any 6 stated meetings, does that refer to just your valley or any valley in the Northern Masonic jurisdiction?
On valley events, I think on that, if you go to another valley, if it's a Scottish Rite event, it's fair game.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. So we must have questions. We have a nice array of different brothers from all different types of valleys across the state. Who's got some questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to reiterate that this program is really is about learning more about the Scottish Rite. And, we always, in the Scottish Rite, we want to create new Scottish Rite members from our brothers and friends in the Blue Lodge. And if they ask you the question, well, what's Scottish Rite all about? And you can't answer that, it's kind of embarrassing. I think this program gives you a whole bunch of answers that you can give when somebody asks you that question. And I would reiterate what JB said, take your time, don't rush through it. Absorb what you're learning as you go through it. You'll learn a lot of new stuff as you're moving through. And I would also like to mention, since we're waiting for another question, is you mentioned that registering for the member center account was the #1 mile marker. Just to let the brothers from New York State know, we're currently working on a new version for the New York Council Deliberation website, and we're going to have a member center that you can log into, and you're going to have the Supreme Council member center registration already set up, because that's what you're going to use to go into the member center for New York State too. So, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or 3. You get your member center set up for Supreme Council, you get a mile marker for Pathfinder, and it'll set you up for when we're ready to roll that out for New York State.
Yeah, we've got some more questions here.
Good.
Since we now have visitations in both jurisdictions, can we also apply visits and work with brethren of the Southern Masonic jurisdiction?
Actually, in this, I think it's going to be 2022.3. There will be a couple of Southern jurisdiction tie-ins that we're going to include as mile markers, because a lot of people are saying, hey, I've been visiting degrees down in Southern somewhere, and absolutely, we certainly want to encourage that.
That's awesome. Another question: has there been any thought to creating a pre-Pathfinder guide for Blue Lodge Masons? Maybe something. Let me. It's got a little bit more here. It says maybe something that would dovetail with Not a Man, a Mason campaign.
I will say that we are already, with several Grand Lodges, we have put in some teaser ads in some of the Grand Lodge publications to at least build awareness at the Grand Lodge level. I do love the idea. That is it too is something we have discussed, and it's going to be a part of the process.
All right, excellent, good deal. That's all I see here. Let me go around the big room here and pick on a couple of guys who I know I can smell the smoke. I can see the wheels grinding in their heads, and they're thinking of things right now. Aramedician, you're my thinking guy. What are you thinking, brother?
As secretary-elect, I'm thinking, how many of these booklets am I going to have to hand out to people multiple times at different Valley events? But I am excited and ready.
I will tell you, though, that with with the assistance of some of our advisory board members, I would hope at some point that we've got 2 or 3 for New York. I mean, New York is a sizable state, that there will be some help for you on that, it's not just entirely gonna, that's what we didn't want to have happen was, hey, secretaries, just deal with it.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that there was support built in there so that that didn't happen.
Yeah. Secretaries and commanders in chief, if you're on here, find some guy who is maybe already done it, or is working his way through it, so he's got a little more working knowledge, and make him your valley chair. And he should be the point guy that people go to. I know there are a lot of secretaries that were panicking when this rolled out, thinking, well, I think logically that's where most people go to when they have a question. They go to the secretary, but it was never the intention, I don't think, for to pile onto the secretaries. So, and as
Yep.
JB said, plans are already afoot to get probably multiple state Pathfinder people here in New York.
Yeah, it's a smart way to go about it. One of our brothers put in chat, I believe Wednesday, June 8th, I tried to log on to the webinar and the pop-up said the session had expired. So will there be a recording of that, or will there be another opportunity for them to jump on something like that?
The June 8th session actually is already on Member Center. So
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Okay.
If you log into Member Center and click on that video gallery, it is there and you can watch it in its entirety.
There you go. Okay, Larry, that one's for you, my friend. So that's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Larry Bernard, man, you're the man down in New York City. What are you thinking, my friend?
Actually, someone already asked my question, so but it's an interesting program. It's worth looking into.
Absolutely. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Anybody else? John Patterson, what are you thinking, my friend?
I would say that this was an excellent presentation. The more that I learn about Pathfinder, the more I realize that it is the piece that I think that has been missing for a long time. And what I mean by that is that we bring people on a fabulous journey all the way through the 32nd degree. And it may take them a while to get there, but here is something new and exciting that people can learn more about what's going on in Scottish Rite and in their own valley. I think it's going to be good for the leadership too, because gives us a chance to find out more of what the membership is thinking, feeling. I've heard a lot of nice comments. I've heard people say, wow, how come we didn't have something like this before in some of the other bodies? So I'd say this is a winner. And JB, you did a great job of explaining it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, John.
100%.
Can I add to John's comment there just a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, from a perspective of especially our newer guys, but even maybe those guys that weren't super involved or didn't feel comfortable. If nothing else, I mean, if we can understand Pathfinder can be an excuse for us to allow, those guys that maybe aren't as outgoing or social, that's tough. If you walk into a room of guys and you don't know them and you are the new kid, how easy is it really to walk up to you? Hey, Bob, hey, you look like a nice enough guy. Tell me about your family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody's going to do that. They're going to sit in the corner and they're going to go home and think, man, I really felt out of place. If nothing else, as Pathfinder being a bridge to say, hey, hi, Bob, my name's Brian. I'm working on Pathfinder. Can I sit and can we talk a little bit?
Yeah.
There's a receptiveness on both ends of that. And then that you both walk home or go home that evening and think, geez, I got to meet Bob. He was a nice guy. I learned about his family. I learned about what he enjoys doing in his free time. That is that key to retention that we see guys leave and not come back, and we scratch our heads. But I mean, that is one of the basic keys of just feeling welcome.
Yeah. I see a parallel, quite frankly, to the passport program going to see the degrees and Pathfinder. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. When I was getting my first passport stamped, and it took me 11 years to get that passport done. All right. Going to see the degrees, watching the degree itself was great. Not shading that at all. But the best part was pig piling into a car with 5 other guys and driving to Hartford, Connecticut, and stopping for some lousy food on the way home. And you're getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you got to get up at 6 to go to work, and you're dragging it, but you're laughing at 11 o'clock in the morning, even though you're damn tired, because you had such a great time with 5 or 6 other guys the night before. That's what makes the journey amazing. All right. And what I see with Pathfinder is, and I would encourage all of our leaders, our Valley leaders on the call, is get 5 or 6 or 7 guys together and say, hey, let's do this together. All right. Let's do this together. Let's see where our shortcomings are. Let's do this together, and you know what, maybe, Pete, you take mile marker 1 through 5, Seabold, you're going to take 6 through 10, Powell, you're going to take 11 through, 19, whatever. And, each of us guide each other through it. And that's what's going to make it fun. I really believe that. So I think it's a terrific program. And, it's funny, I wrote down some questions and you answered them all. I don't look at this either as a race. I look at this as a marathon, 100%. This is something you should just sit back, take a deep breath, and relax and have some fun with it, and really enjoy the experience. So I would absolutely, positively say that's the way to go for sure. Rick, Powell, what do you think?
I think every Valley should once in the fall, once in the spring, at the very least, have a Pathfinder day. And maybe do it on a Saturday morning and have the guys come in for a couple hours and everybody work together as a team, and then share what they've discovered while they were trying to find the answers to the different mile markers. And again, it's not a road trip, but today it's $5 a gallon for gas. So that might be the more economical way to do it for the present time. You don't have to sell me on it. I think it's a great program. When I first heard about it, because as an active member, I heard about it before most of you, and I was stoked for it when I first heard it. And the program is going to follow up next year will be a great successor to this, and then take you from completing this into doing something else leadership related next year, and that'll probably be revealed either later in the fall or beginning of next year. But there is another couple of things here that have popped up from Chris. Any thought to using social media aside from Facebook to promote this, or even just the Northern Masonic jurisdiction? Facebook for some dwindle, and websites need to be updated. So things like TikTok and the like, I think, would reach more Masons.
We recently have been discussing other social platforms such as TikTok. I will say from the Facebook standpoint, a lot of states now are popping up with their own personal Pathfinder pages, so that guys have a place to come and ask questions. But to the point, Facebook is not exactly resonating with some of our younger members. So yes, we are exploring additional social platforms on that.
So I listened to a podcast called The Tyler's Place from the Southern jurisdiction, and they just had a program recently about a brother who's using TikTok to promote. I think they're promoting Scottish Rite. And I want to say that I think it was down in Georgia, but I'm not positive. But check out the podcast, The Tyler's Place. I think they actually recorded there at the House of the Temple. Chris, did we answer your question? Is Chris still on with us?
Yeah, he's there. Yeah, it says here Aaron Medician said the Southern Masonic jurisdiction actually has a very active TikTok feed from the House of the Temple. So yeah, 100%. Yep. That's good stuff.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I just got done with my term as Commander-in-Chief of the Valley of Syracuse. And one of our new 32nd degree members is on this evening. Shane Bird. Wave your hand, Shane. I knighted Shane this spring. He's been reading and trying to get involved as much as he can and learn what he can on Scottish Rite Freemasonry. I'm very happy to see him on tonight.
Good stuff. Welcome, Shane. It's good to have you here, man.
Come find me, Shane. You know who I am.
Well, and I have to say, I mean, as a newbie, you know, I've already dived into Pathfinder, you know, online and done a few of the paths and that sort of thing. And, you know, because really it's been intimidating to, you know, as you mentioned, to come into this and, you know, have such a long history and you have individuals that have been a part of it for, you know, 40 years, 50 years, and you come into this and you just wonder, you know, where do I start? And I found it incredibly refreshing and satisfying that I can just go through this. I can go through the videos. I can, you know, it references certain books and things like that. And now I can look them up and try to hunt those down. And it's been great. I feel it's a great program, especially for those that are just becoming a part of the Scottish Rite.
Very happy to hear that.
That's awesome. That's a great testimony right there. That's good stuff. I personally think one of the mile markers ought to be that you can see John Zabel's mustache in person, because that, my friends, is a mustache. All right. Good for you, John. Rocking the stash, brother.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it would take me about 84 years to grow something like that. So God bless you. Good for you. But then Bruce has got you going with that beard.
I did want to acknowledge too, I couldn't get off this call without acknowledging Rick Powell, because as he said about being inactive, Rick actually was one of the he jumped back in for a lot of the Q&A for the program and offered a lot of ideas and suggestions. So his thumbprints on this program as well, and I certainly appreciate that.
Thanks for spending time with XLCR32. The experiences, comments, opinions, and views shared on this program are those of individual Freemasons and do not reflect the official position of any Grand Lodge, Concordant, or Pendant body. Until we meet again, keep on reaching higher.